Peace be with you. The reality of the genocide that is happening in Gaza now has made the problem in Palestine all the more acute in all of our eyes. And if people have not been paying attention for the last 75 years to the suffering of the Palestinian people, they are certainly paying attention now, because they can see with their own eyes the inhumanity and the brutality that the Palestinian people are subjected to every single day, not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank. And even before that, in all the pogroms and massacres that resulted in ethnic cleansing of most of the Palestinian population for what is now considered Israel. We see with our own eyes on video indiscriminate murder of civilians, executions, starvation of millions of people, destruction of infrastructure, hospitals, and murder of healthcare workers. We see it all. We see that those people are suffering, and most of the people, especially those people living in the surrounding area, my belief that the regular people want to do something about it, and I have spoken to hundreds of people, and they say we can't do anything about it because of our governments. And I agree with them. It is the governments that are the problem. The governments surrounding Palestine have been assisting in the occupation of Palestinians for the last several decades, and their assistance to the enemy, their assistance to the oppressor, is becoming more and more every single year. Insomuch that now, while the Yemenis try to do something about Israeli shipping, at least enforcing some sort of a blockade and making their lives uncomfortable, surrounding countries such as Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and even Jordan allowed goods to be transported by land through their territory so Israelis can enjoy appliances and such. It is the governments that are the problem, who are preventing people in the surrounding countries from actually doing something about this genocide. To do something about the genocide, people living in those Muslim countries surrounding Palestine have to change their own governments. And that brings me to a point that I wanted to discuss, because although we recognize that the governments are the problem, I still hear Muslims saying that democracy is a problem and the most un-Islamic political system of all. Show me where democracy is your problem in the Middle East. You cannot elect your leaders, and you cannot overthrow your leaders without violence, because you have no democracy. You cannot take counsel among yourselves to change your leaders. Saudi Arabia has a king, so does Jordan. Egypt has a dictator. None of them are a democracy. Sisi overthrew a democratically elected president, Mohammed Morsi, who would have done at least something about what's going on in Gaza. When you had a democracy for a moment, you actually had a better leader. In the Quran, in the 42nd chapter of the Quran, verses 36 through 38, we are told, "So whatever thing you are given, that is only a provision of this world's life, or tools of this world's life, mata. And what is with God is better and more lasting for those who believe and rely on their Lord. Those who shun great sins and indecencies, and whenever they are angry, they forgive." And then it tells us, "And those who respond to their Lord and keep up prayer, and their rule is to take counsel among themselves, shura, and who spend out of what we have given them." God tells us that those who believe and rely on their Lord, they live by consensus. They take counsel among themselves. They don't have rulers who absolutely dictate to them, because, as you can see, unless you have an actual prophet of God sitting in a position of absolute power is going to corrupt absolutely, and that is definitely not the best political system to live under. It's just not. All the proof in the world is staring you in the face by what is happening in Gaza now. If people are corrupt, then democracy is a corrupting influence. No question about that. People are going to elect corrupt leaders, and their corruption will be complete. But if people are godly people, they will elect godly people, and they will have a godly government that will help them do godly things. Whereas if you have absolute power, if you put people in absolute power and they have hereditary power like kings, or they come into power through violence like dictators like Sisi, and these people are going to serve money. They're going to serve the dunya. They're going to serve whatever else, but they will not be godly people. They will not serve God. They will be like the Pharaoh. Pharaoh is an example of absolute power. A political system is not a religious thing. All I'm saying here is that democracy as a political system, although it has plenty of pitfalls, it is still probably the best political system because it always gives a chance to people when they wake up to change their government. All other political systems, kings and emirs and dictators, as we see from what's happening in the Middle East right now, even when people wake up, if they don't have the correct leadership, they can't do anything about anything. And that is why the alternatives to democracy are far worse. God tells us in the Quran that our rule is to take counsel among themselves, and the word for that is democracy. So if we are good people, we will have a good government. And if we are terrible people, if we are corrupt people, then of course we're going to have corrupt governments. Politics is not religion. And we have to simply look at what the optimal arrangement for human political organization is, the one with least harm. And I think that is democracy. Peace be with you.